All right, UFC 275 is officially in the books, and right now I have Kelly Murphy back on the show to help us break it all down. Kelly, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here, especially after that card. Like, I can't wait to talk about it.
I mean, what an insane card! So much to get to. Obviously, that light heavyweight title fight may have been the greatest UFC light heavyweight title fight in history. That's obviously to be debated. You know, Valentina Shevchenko, a very, very close fight. We're not used to seeing that from her. And then Weili Zhang, goodness gracious, with that spinning back fist KO, and then Joanna retires. So a lot to get to. Let's just start with the main event. Yuri Prohaska pulls it off, a round 5 RNC win. And a lot of people, including myself, had Glover up on the scorecards in that 5th round. Did you feel like if he was able to hang on, he was going to get the nod here from the judges?
Oh, absolutely. I'm pretty sure I had him up 3-1, I want to say, going into the 5th. And up until the loss, I had him winning the 5th round as well. So he was every bit of 28 seconds away from retaining his title. And honestly, at the beginning of the 5th round, he had Yuri rocked on the feet. And then he shot in for the takedown. And I was like, oh my God, you're giving this man time to recover, which you cannot do with Yuri Prohaska. And obviously it worked to Yuri's favor. And that's how that fight ended. And I know we were just chatting before we actually started. Glover Teixeira has to be the nicest man in the sport, I think. And to watch him lose like that when he was up on the scorecards was such a shame.
Yeah, very well said. So I'll get this right out there. I try and be objective and not really root. I try to be not really have a horse in the race, because I'm doing what we do. We got to stay objective, but it's hard not to like Glover Teixeira. And I actually had the pleasure of interviewing him twice now, once leading up to this fight, and he's just so generous with his time. He's such a nice guy. He comes around the New England fight scene a lot, and he's just always smiling, always happy, just so gracious. So especially for him at his age, I kind of wanted to see him, and he says he's going to keep fighting for a while now, but I kind of wanted to see him end his career on top. And I mean, look, he's right there. I was neck and neck with Yuri Prohaska, a guy that's 13, 14 years younger than him. So he could very well get that gold back around his waist. But do you feel like he's going to have to go and fight someone else next? Or do you feel like, he's done enough where maybe they do the immediate rematch?
Oh my gosh. It's not even a conversation I thought we would be having after this pay-per-view. I thought there would kind of be, your set in stone winner, which of course Yuri won fair and square, but I thought it would kind of be decisive either way. And now we're having this conversation, but I really would like to see Yuri Prohaska fight the winner of Anthony Smith, Magomed Ankalaev. As much as I would love to see this Glover fight again, it's not that light heavyweight has a lot of parity right now. There are a lot of guys 1 through 5 that I think could be champion on any given day. So as much as I would love to see the Glover fight, there's just other contenders in the wings that I would like to see get their chance and not have to wait.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I heard someone mention Gustafsson as a potential matchup for Glover. Do you think that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate that because obviously Anthony and Magomed are paired up. I mean, you have Jan Blachowicz in the wings, but we saw that. So I wouldn't hate that because that'd be fresh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so as far as Anthony Smith and Ankalaev goes, obviously, Anthony Smith, he's doing his media stuff, which he kills it. He's on Sirius XM with yourself there. So do you feel like he gets the win here? I mean, Ankalaev, that's a tough fight. How do you see that one shaking out?
Oh my gosh, it is such a tough fight, but that's who Anthony Smith is. He's a fight anybody, anywhere, any day kind of guy, which I think is why so many people love him. And he's a pretty big betting underdog, I believe, against Magomed Ankalaev. But I don't hate his chances. Anthony is so technically sound on his feet, and he's so methodical, and he's a crisp striker, but he's also really, really good from his back as well. So I think Anthony has a lot of methods to victory. And I do think, and I know I try not to be biased as well because he is a good friend of mine, but I do think that a lot of people are going to be surprised at UFC 277. I mean, this man has back-to-back first round finishes. He has earned his way to fight ahead in the rankings. I know he's number 5, Magomed Ankalaev's number 4. And I do think that he can very much get the win. And I would love to see him against Yuri Prohaska. I really would.
How big is he in person?
Who, Anthony?
Anthony.
Oh my gosh, he is like every bit of 6'3". And I'm like 5'3", 5'4". So when you just see him, he towers.
Yeah. he looks, I mean, just looking at him, he looks like he should be in the heavyweight division, but I'll digress. He's just a massive man. This title fight between Yuri and Glover, Kelly, for your money, was this the best light heavyweight title fight in UFC history?
I think so. And I know a lot of people are like, don't get tied up in the recency bias, which I completely understand. MMA is what have you done for me lately? And that fight was fantastic. And everyone was quick to be like, that's my fight of the year. That's the best light heavyweight fight of all time. But I agree with both of those statements. As of today, that is my fight of the year. Every single round felt like an entire fight alone. And that's what I tweeted that out that night. I said, when one round feels like an entire fight, that's a fantastic round. Both of these guys got to the positions they wanted to be in each and every round. They both did their thing. They both got close to finishing at certain points in every round. It's absolutely my fight of the year. And it's up for debate, but I do believe it is the best light heavyweight fight of all time in the UFC.
Yeah, my God, what a fight. I hope, I'm just going to say it, I'm a fan of Glover. I hope he gets back and gets another title shot at some point soon. I mean, he's 42. I don't know how much longer he's going to stick around, but he still has it. He's not going anywhere. It's
like he was hanging around, not just hanging around, close to finishing that fight plenty of times. Sweat and fatigue played a big factor, I'm sure, on some of those submission attempts, but man, Glover looked good. And when DC asked him what was next, I was not ready for him to say he was going to retire. I was like, my emotions have been a roller coaster this entire pay-per-view, and I don't think I could handle this.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that he did say he's not going anywhere. He's coming back. Let's move to that co-main event. Valentina Shevchenko, Taila Santos, a split decision win for Shevchenko. Look, I'm just going to be honest. I didn't see that coming. All due respect to Santos, I know she's very, very tough, but for my money, I personally feel like Valentina Shevchenko, and I know the Amanda Nunes fans out there will want to rip me to shreds, but I think she's the best pound for pound female fighter on planet Earth. I think she won against Nunes in that second fight, and I just wasn't anticipating this to be so close. Did you feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of times Valentina, as weird as it's going to sound, gets lost in the shuffle when you talk about your pound for pound greats, because you start talking about the men, and then Amanda Nunes, who was, your double division champ for so long, who's so beyond dominant, is obviously your next person you discuss. And Valentina kind of gets lost in that conversation, which is insane because she is so well-rounded and technical, and she makes fighting look pretty for somebody as violent as she is. And with all due respect to Taila Santos as well, I wasn't expecting this one to be close. Going into the fourth round, I had Valentina down 3 rounds on my scorecard. And I was like, I was not expecting Valentina to need a finish going into the fourth round of this title fight. I expected it to be over, or for her to be dominating on the feet, just kind of doing what she wanted, picking her spots, picking Taila Santos apart. And that unfortunate clash of heads, I think really changed the trajectory of the entire fight. Obviously, it worked out in Valentina's favor. She won on the scorecards anyway, but not what I was expecting at all.
Do you think the judges got it right?
I wouldn't have called robbery either way. I had it 48-47 Taila Santos, but I could see where you give Valentina one of those first 3 rounds because they're the control time versus damage argument. I'm no MMA judge, and I do not want to be. That is a thankless job for sure. So I wouldn't necessarily say they got it wrong. I do not like the 49-46 scorecard, though.
If I'm in Taila Santos's camp, I'm screaming immediate rematch. How can you not, right? Like, I know Miesha Tate, Tatiana Suarez, they're both waiting in the wings. I think either one of them would deserve a title shot. But man, after what we just saw from Santos, I kind of want to see this rematch immediately. I don't know about you.
I would love to see it again. It's just now she has the fractured orbital, so I'm not sure how long that's going to take. And I know Valentina recently came out and said that she was fighting with an injured foot, so I know she's got to get some tests done. So I don't know how long she's going to be out potentially. But I know it's unfortunate, but if injury timelines map out right, I would love to see that again, because when you have a clash of heads that influences the fight, Taila Santos's eye was at a minimum 60% closed. They made that thing look good when the judges read the scorecards. You want to see it again without that external factor.
Yeah, no, you're 1,000% right. I think eventually, even if it doesn't happen next, these two ladies are going to run it back, and that's just great for the fans. And you have to feel good for Santos about the trajectory of her career moving forward. She is legit tough.
Oh my gosh, she is insane. And I also will say, and this is not taking anything away from Talia Santos because she fought a fantastic fight. I did think Val made some tactical errors. I mean, I thought when she was on the feet, just standing in front of her, she looked really good. But when she would try to engage in the clinch situations and get to the ground, I was like, you seem to be at a disadvantage. Like, why are you doing that? So I think it was a mix of tactical errors and Santos just overachieving in a sense of no one was giving her a chance. I don't think anybody realized how actually well she stacked up against Valentina. So that's always exciting for me to see. I love a dominant champion more than anyone else, but I love when a challenger who nobody is giving a chance puts up a fantastic fight.
Yeah, 1,000% agree with you again. Weili Zhang, my goodness, a round two spinning back fist KO of Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the former champion, and then she goes on to retire in the cage. Do you feel like she's officially done, or is this just kind of a case where maybe her emotions were getting the better of her, and eventually she's going to realize how much she loves fighting, and we're going to see her compete again?
I would love to say that I think we're going to see her compete again, but part of me just doesn't think that we're going to. I mean, she already had the 2-year layoff before this fight. She said she only wants big fights. You saw how excited she was when, I think it was media day, when one of the reporters had told her that, winner of this fight is going to get Carla Esparza next, and her face lit up because she's talked about, I want big fights, I want big fights, I want big fights. And it's hard to get that at this point, you know what I mean? Because obviously Weili Zhang, the rematch was one of the biggest rematches of all time. I don't think I've ever been more excited for a fight. And she lost it decisively. So that book is closed. Weili's going to get Carla, it seems. So the title fight picture really doesn't happen. I would have loved to see her against Marina Rodriguez, which is, I think, a fight we missed out on. Not that it was ever in the works or anything, but just a fight I would have loved to see. I just don't think she's interested in that. I think she wants huge names or title fights. And I just don't know if she's going to get that. And she seems to love life outside of the cage as much or more than she does inside the cage. She's so talented. She does so many different things. She seems very happy. And obviously, based on what she says, she seems motivated to really be a businesswoman. She wants to be a mother. So I think her sights are focused outside of the cage. I never rule out an MMA comeback, though, because Miesha Tate came back after like 5 years or something. So I won't rule it out.
Where would you rank Joanna all time as far as, female mixed martial artists go?
Gosh, I mean, I think she's the best strawweight of all time with the amount of title defenses she had and just how violent she was. I mean, the Boogie Woman herself was never, ever back down from a brawl. I would put her up in my top 5, I would say. I really would.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I literally, her in her prime, she, like you said, just violent, and she's a fighter's fighter. She went in there to put it on you. And if this is the last that we've seen of Joanna Jędrzejczyk, I am going to miss her, but I definitely wish her well. And whatever it is that she's doing moving forward, she's clearly going to be successful. As far as the champ, Carla Esparza, Weili, potentially could maybe have that third fight with Rose. She has lost both of them pretty decisively. I still thought that, again, all due respect to Carla, but I kind of thought Rose won that last fight, although it was kind of close. But do you feel like Weili and Esparza is the next fight to make? That's what you would do.
I mean, I don't think it's the end all be all. I thought that the Joanna Weili fight got a lot more exciting with Carla Esparza atop the division, because obviously both Joanna and Weili have 2 losses to Rose. So I was like, I would love to see the winner of Weili, you want to get a title shot, but if Rose is the champion, if you lose to her a third time, you're not getting a title shot for quite a bit of time, because strawweight is the female division with the most parity. There's the most contenders, there's more fluctuation, things like that. So Carla being atop the division really changed the entire landscape. Going back to the Carla and Rose fight, I was there in Arizona, and I was sitting with Miesha Tate's family, actually. And I was just chatting with them, and I was like, round one's typically a feeler. Like, I wouldn't get bogged up in them not really doing much. I think they're both trying to see how they've changed in certain ways because it's been so long since they fought, things like that. And then middle of the second round, I was like, oh gosh, I hope the entire fight isn't like this. And like you said, I thought Rose won too, because I didn't think Carla was doing enough to beat the champion, because there's always that saying, you got to beat the champ to be the champ. I didn't think she did that. But it's like you look at the other end and Rose didn't do a whole lot either. So I wasn't yelling robbery at all as well. But I did think Rose won. But going back to the next title fight, I do think Wei Li Zhang's going to get it, but I would love to see Marina Rodriguez in there. I mean, that girl is vicious as well. Her striking is stunning. Again, like makes it look pretty, really.
Yeah, well, there clearly is a lot of formidable potential matchups here at 115. So that's a division that's deep and it isn't lacking exciting matchups. So I'll be intrigued to see what the UFC does with that here moving forward. To keep moving on down this pay-per-view card, Jake Matthews, a round 2 TKO KO victory. That's probably as good as I've ever seen him in there. Would you agree?
He looked fantastic. And obviously, and rightfully so, Andre Fialho had a ton of hype going into this fight. It was his 4th fight of the year, I believe.
Yeah.
Insane, unheard of. I was talking to one of my friends that doesn't watch, and I was like, you really only see people fight, 2 times a year, 3 times a year. This is this man's 4th fight, and it's June, which is
Right.
unheard of. And I think, the entire fight talk was based around him. And, is he going to do it again? When's he going to fight next? Kind of looking past Jake Matthews. And he had, I agree with you, the best performance I've ever seen from him. And I'm actually, I'll move down the card a little bit more, would like to see him fight Jack Della Maddalena. I'm not going to lie.
I am a huge fan of Jack Della Maddalena. That guy is I mean, he is just perfect on the feet. He was in some trouble there early on against Amiv. I don't know how deep that submission attempt was, but he was able to fight through it, ultimately hits him with that liver shot and gets the win. What do you feel like Jack Della's ceiling is here at 170?
It's relatively early to say, but part of me really thinks that he could be the future of that division. I mean, and this fight showed it. He was in a lot of trouble. I thought that was in deep. And I said to my friend, I was like, oh, I think he's going to have to tap out, because I really like Jack as well. I think he's fantastic. So the fact that he was really in a lot of trouble and able to get out of it, stayed calm. That's one of my favorite things that a fighter can do, is when they're facing adversity, to just kind of stay calm and weather the storm. And he was able to do that perfectly and ultimately picked up the win. I think he said something like, if anyone drops out tonight, I'm ready. I was like, I love this kid's attitude too. Like, he is just fantastic. And I think that his ceiling is really, really, really high. I would like to just continue to see him slowly move up. Like, there's no need to rush. Mm-hmm. That division's full of contenders as well. There's no need to rush it. So I would love to just see him slowly but steady move up that ladder, because he is unreal.
So the title fight at 170 was recently announced. What's your early prediction there? Obviously, Leon Edwards coming in to take on a guy who's looked, outside of Colby Covington, pretty much unbeatable, and Kamaru Usman. Do you feel like Edwards has a chance, or is this just going to be another signature performance by the Nigerian Nightmare?
Yeah, I like Leon Edwards a lot. This title shot is well-deserved and like a long time ago. I mean, we should have seen this earlier, but it's here nonetheless. I like Kamaru in this fight. I like Kamaru in pretty much every single fight that he's in. I always say the only person that I think would beat him is Colby Covington on a fantastic day for him, where Kamaru isn't even 100% type of deal, because Colby has put on really great performances against Kamaru. I just like him against everybody. I'm not going to lie. So with all due respect to Leon, I think it'll be a good fight, but I do think Kamaru will be signature Kamaru Usman. I believe it's a hand injury he's rehabbing. Heals up well, and he's 100%. I don't think they would have announced this fight if he wasn't, because we've all kind of been waiting in the wings to hear about a date. Now that we have a date, I assume that he will be good to go. And I'm excited to see Kamaru back in there. I'm not going to lie. I love watching that guy fight.
Yeah, he's an absolute beast, terrifying fighter. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be locked inside of the octagon with him. I'd be like Usain Bolt, like tearing out of the the arena, just getting.
I know. I do not know how his opponents just stand there and like deadpan. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would be scared out of my mind.
Yeah, you and me both. I do want to move up to 185, the middleweight division, a guy that, I'm not quite sure how to gauge his performance. Look, a win is a win, but I've been really, really high on Brendan Allen for a while now. And there's been times inside of the octagon where he's looked amazing. And then he's had some performances where, he hasn't looked quite as great. I kind of expected him to go in there and maybe get a finish here against Malkoun, someone with a quarter of the experience that Brendan Allen has, but you got to kind of tip your cap to Malkoun for having a, you know, a great wrestling pedigree and sticking to his game plan. Overall, what's your takeaway from this one from Brendan Allen's side of things?
I mean, I kind of feel the same as you. I picked Brendan Allen in this fight, and I didn't think it was going to go the distance. So I was kind of, it's not worrisome by any means. I mean, Malkoun's tough, but like you said, Brendan Allen has a lot more experience than him. And that's a big factor that I take into account when picking fights. Credit to Jacob Malkoun for sticking to his game plan, like you said. But yeah, I thought Brendan Allen was going to go in there and get a finish. But I mean, at the end of the day, a win is a win, which good for him, of course. But I don't know. I don't really know what to make of Brendan Allen just yet. And I feel like I should.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like we've seen some you know, improvements from him
Sure.
since he's moved to Sanford. But it's just like there are some fights where I feel like he's a potential, you know, top 10, top 5 guy down the line. And then other times I'm just like, well, I'm not sure what I'm watching here. And that stinks because I mean, I've been interviewing Brendan Allen since, you know, way before he was even in the UFC. So I do cheer for him. A little head scratching from this one, but I think it comes back down to maybe just how good of a wrestler Jacob Malkoun is. I mean, I think it's a tough fight.
Absolutely. And I mean, you look at the guys that Brendan Allen has lost to, and they're all really, really good. And then sometimes it's like, oh man, like I thought you were going to win that one. So I'm still, like you just said, he's a bit of a head scratcher for me. I never know what I'm going to get. But again, credit to Jacob Malkoun sticking to his game plan. Part of me wants to lean more into that than Brendan Allen should have gotten a finish type of deal.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there too. Another big finish, Mahashete gets a round one counter right finish of Steve Garcia. That was pretty vicious, and this was at 155. What do you make of Mahashete as a fighter at lightweight?
Oh my gosh, that was so exciting. And if there's a division that doesn't need any more contenders or excitement, it's lightweight, and they just got it.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. You blink and you miss it pretty much because it was just insane. I love that though. I love seeing an exciting fighter kind of burst onto the scene in an already extremely exciting division, because then your mind just starts going crazy of all the different possibilities for this guy, which is obviously it's early, but you can't help but go there. Like that's how I feel when I, see new contenders or new exciting moments at 35 also. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like you have this guy, and this guy. I mean, in a couple of years, that could be a really great fight. So I'm pumped. I mean, that fight, that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, really was a great card. I didn't realize, I guess, just how few fights there were in comparison to other UFC pay-per-views, because it
Right.
didn't start till later. And I do kind of like it when the early prelims start at 5, because we just get even more fights. But really, the UFC did a great job of matchmaking here. And Silvana Gomez Juarez, another big finish right there for her over Na Liang. And this was again at 115. So do you feel like Juarez is a potential contender, or does she need to maybe just keep racking up some wins before we can consider her maybe being a legit title contender here at strawweight?
I mean, I think both of those things are correct. I could see her being a legit contender at some point, but I would like to see her get some more wins under her belt for sure. Slow but steady. I mean, 115 is full of talent. So just keep moving up the ladder, very slow, but this was impressive. I mean, round one, I think it was like a minute, maybe minute 30, minute 20 left in the round, or a minute 20 into the round. I don't even know. It was insane. And no, she looked really good. So I love 115. It's my favorite women's division to watch just because how many contenders there are and the fluctuation. So I would love to, I mean, I think she inserted herself into the picture, but I would love to see her get a few more wins under her belt before title contention talk starts.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. Now, we've almost hit every single fight on the card thus far. At featherweight, Josh Kulabau picks up a split win over Sung Woo Choi. Do you feel the judges got it right there?
I wasn't scoring that one for me. I usually watch the fights and I try to score it. This one, I was kind of just getting myself amped up for the main card. So I was kind of getting all my things in order so I could just sit down and enjoy the main card. So I don't have a good opinion on whether or not the judges got it right or wrong. What did you think about it?
I think they gave it to the right guy. It was a
Right.
close fight. I mean, it was a split decision. You could make an argument either way for either guy winning, but I do think Kulabau did enough to get the job done. But again, an evenly matched fight between these two. Win or lose, neither one of these guys should hang their head, because that was it was a tough performance by both men. Where did you watch the fight, Kelly?
I watched the fight at home.
Okay.
because I usually, when it's a big card like this, I knew we were going to chat today. I knew I would have a couple of big shows going on this week. I try to just watch at home so I can really take everything in, just in case I don't have time to rewatch it on Sunday, which luckily I did twice. But yeah, just watched at home. Very chill.
I was listening to you guys unlocking the cage. I can't remember how long ago it was, but you were making a comment that you're kind of getting sick of going out and watching the fights out at bars, which I stopped doing that forever ago, just because some drama always happens. There's always somebody that has something to say. And are you just kind of at that point now where you'd rather just stay home and peace and quiet and just relax and watch it maybe with some educated people around you?
Oh, by far, because especially for me, there's this whole misconception that women don't understand fighting by any means. So I'll make a comment and every guy around me is like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, you know what? I actually would say that I probably know more than you do because this is what I do for a living. So it's just frustrating in that sense because I'm like, you can't say anything without somebody saying something back to you. And even when I watch at home, I can really just take everything in more. I can hear the commentary. I actually watch with a friend that doesn't watch the fights. So I was kind of teaching her things, which only further helped me. So I'm at the point where I would much rather watch at home because some people just suck, honestly. Like, to put it simply.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to put it. What is or how is things going for you at Sirius XM right now? Like, tell me what your normal week looks like.
It is fantastic. On Mondays, so today I produce Throwing Down with Renee Paquette and Misha Tate. So we will have a show today, obviously recapping all the fights. And then for the rest of the week, I'm with good old Jimmy Smith, Unlocking the Cage. I mean, my day-to-day is kind of just planning the show. And then ultimately we get on. Jimmy puts me on air a lot, which is really nice because that only helps me perfect my on-air skills. And I just learn more too. And him and I can have an educated discussion back and forth. Obviously we play a role where there's like, a sense of hate and bitterness between us, but in reality, I absolutely adore Jimmy Smith. I think he is fantastic. And then after the show, it's just about putting the best things on social media just to get people back to the show and to get people to listen the next day. But it's fantastic. I love my job. I just recently hit 3 years, which is kind of crazy. So things are going really well.
Yeah, good for you. I thoroughly enjoy listening to you guys. I will say Unlocking the Cage is hands down my favorite MMA show to tune into. So anytime I'm out there on the road, I am listening. And my main job, I am in sales, so I travel quite a bit. So I listen to you guys a lot. I understand too, you're a sports fan in general. You like it all. So what's if you can't tell behind me, I'm from New England. I'm a Celtics guy.
Yeah.
I was at game 4 Friday night, which was painful for me because we gave that game away. But what's your thoughts on how the end of the NBA finals are going to shake out?
Well, I'm a Miami Heat fan, so I am slightly bitter. And I don't know why, but part of me didn't even take the entire Celtics background in until you just said that. But on top of being a Miami Heat fan, I am a huge Stephen Curry fan. So I think these NBA finals are fantastic. I hated at the beginning of the playoffs when it was just blowouts on blowouts. I was like, this isn't fun. This doesn't feel like the NBA playoffs. You know what I mean? But I think these finals have been really good. Like you said, game 4, I mean, more than anything, the Warriors stole that game. They didn't win that game. They stole it at the end. And Stephen Curry has just been lights out. I know even before game 4, when the series was 2-1, I think he was still everyone's pick for finals MVP, which is just unheard of. I mean, if his team can help him out a little bit more, the series could be closer to over than it is right now, but he is playing fantastic. I know you're a Celtics fan, but I would love to see Stephen get a non-KD ring, and I would love to see him pick up a finals MVP. I don't really think he needs anything more to establish his legacy. He's pretty much changed the way basketball is played, but I would love to see him pick up a non-KD ring. That would be huge.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I'm a huge fan of Steph Curry too. I just hope he does it in a year that the Celtics aren't in the finals. So maybe next year.
Completely understand. That's how I would have felt if my Miami Heat were in there. Every time they play each other, I'm always like, I want the Heat to win, but I want Stephen to play really, really well. but it didn't come down to that. So
Well, game 5 is tonight. I'll be tuning in. I'm sure you will be as well. One more thing before we do sign off here today. Your guy, Calvin Cater, he's in the main event next weekend, taking on Josh Emmett. Really intriguing matchup. Both of these guys have a lot of power and are great on the feet. Who do you see getting their hand raised here in this featherweight bout?
gosh, I think a lot of people forget about Josh Emmett in that division because he was out for a while rehabbing injury. But that being said, I do like Calvin Cater in this fight. He is just a monster on the feet, as is Josh Emmett. So regardless, I see this fight getting completed in a finish. This is not going to go to a decision if I had to put my money on it, which I probably will. But I like Calvin Cater by finish, maybe round 3. I do see them trying to feel each other out a little bit just because the matchup's new, but one of these guys has got to give. They're both way too powerful. So would I be surprised if Josh Emmett won? No, but also Calvin Cater, we saw how his chin held up in the Max Holloway fight. He got pieced apart for a long time, and that man was just bloodied and standing, and he has just the grit of a champion, really. I'm not sure how much that Max Holloway fight took out of him. I mean, obviously he looked fantastic against Giga Chikadze, but Giga Chikadze and Josh Emmett are 2 completely different fighters. So I think we're going to see a completely different fight, but I do like Calvin Cater by finish.
Yeah, I'm a New England guy, so I'm going with Calvin Cater here on this one too. But another great card next weekend. Kelly, it really is always great having you on. I know this is just our second time talking, but you really are very knowledgeable and a pleasure to speak with. Before I do let you go, I want to give you the floor. Please tell people where they can follow you on social media. If you have anything to plug, the floor is yours.
All right. So on Twitter, I am KMurphy25. My Instagram is linked in my bio. It's Kelly_Murphy, just to make it easier for people. Obviously on Sirius XM, Monday through Friday, Mondays 2 to 4, Tuesday through Friday, 2 to 5. The shows are really fantastic. So I suggest everyone tune in. You learn a lot. That's really where I've learned everything the last 3 years. And to top that off, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate coming on. I learn a lot from you two, and it makes me watch the fights a little bit better, knowing that I'm going to come on and chat with you on a Monday. So I appreciate it.